I gripped my champagne flute so tightly I thought it might shatter. Around me, crystal glasses clinked as my mother-in-law Lana stood, perfectly coiffed and wearing that signature shark-like smile I'd grown to dread over the past decade. My name is Presley, and this was supposed to be a simple family dinner. At least that's what my husband Michael had told me. But as I looked around the elaborately decorated dining room of his parents' estate, I counted at least 20 unfamiliar faces, all of them watching me with a mixture of curiosity and pity. "To new possibilities," Lana announced, her voice carrying across the room like a death sentence. "And to fertile futures ahead." The champagne turned bitter in my mouth. Michael shifted uncomfortably beside me, but remained silent, as he always did when his mother took aim. "As many of you know," Lana continued, "our family has faced certain disappointments over the years. But tonight we're ready to embrace change. Herbert and I have decided it's time to help Michael move forward." My fork clattered against fine china. Across the table, Michael's sister Oakley smirked into her wineglass. "What exactly does that mean, Lana?" I asked, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. Herbert, my father-in-law, cleared his throat. "It means, dear, that we've invited several suitable young women tonight who understand the importance of family, of legacy, of giving us grandchildren." The room spun. A pretty blonde, couldn't be more than 26, caught my eye and quickly looked away, her cheeks flushing. That's when it hit me. They weren't just trying to replace me. They'd already started the process. "Michael!" I turned to my husband of 10 years. "Did you know about this?" He stared at his plate, suddenly fascinated by the pattern on the bone china. "Mum and Dad think it's best if we explore options." "Options," I repeated, the word tasting like poison. "I see." "Presley, darling," Lana's voice dripped with false sympathy. "You must understand. 10 years is a long time to wait. The Whitfield name needs an heir." I felt every eye in the room on me. The weight of a decade's worth of snide comments, pointed questions about my fertility, and whispered accusations crashed down at once. But my hand was steady as I reached for my clutch, feeling the folded letter inside, the one from the urologist that would blow their perfect little world apart. "Actually, Lana," I smiled, channeling her own predatory expression, "I think tonight might be perfect for announcements." A young woman at the far end of the table, Destiny, according to her place card, leaned forward eagerly. "Oh, are you finally leaving? They said you might make it official tonight." The room fell silent. Michael's niece Leah, bless her heart, gasped in horror. I took another sip of champagne, savouring the moment. "Not exactly, Destiny. But thank you for confirming what kind of lies have been circulating." I pulled out my phone and typed a quick message to Flynn, my closest friend. "Get here. Bring the envelope." "Now, Presley," Herbert boomed, "don't make a scene. We're trying to handle this with dignity." "Dignity?" I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make several guests flinch. "Like the dignity of inviting your son's replacement dates to dinner without telling his wife?" "You've had your chance," Lana snapped, her facade cracking. 10 years of chances. Sometimes we must face hard truths. If only she knew how hard the truth could be. I felt the letter burning in my clutch, waiting for its moment. My phone buzzed. Flynn was on his way. "You're absolutely right, Lana," I said, raising my glass. "To hard truths, then. And trust me, we're just getting started." Michael finally looked at me, his face pale. He knew what was in my clutch. He knew what was coming. And for the first time in 10 years, I saw real fear in his eyes. I excused myself to the bathroom, my heels clicking against marble floors as I escaped the suffocating dining room. The guest bathroom was bigger than some apartments I'd lived in, with its crystal chandelier and gold-framed mirrors that seemed to mock me with infinite reflections of my face. 6 months ago, in this very bathroom, I'd finally broken down during another family dinner. I remembered pressing a cold washcloth to my face, while Lana's words echoed through the door. Maybe she's just not meant to be a mother. That was the night I'd finally confronted Michael. "I want you to get tested," I told him after we got home. "I've been through every test imaginable. It's your turn." He'd tried to deflect, like always. "Honey, these things take time. We just need to relax." 10 years isn't relaxing, Michael. It's hiding. When he finally agreed, I thought we'd turned a corner. I drove him to the appointment myself, waited in the car while he went in. A week later, he claimed he'd lost the results. "Must have fallen out of my briefcase," he'd said, not meeting my eyes. "I'll call for another copy." But I'd already called, already spoken to the nurse, who remembered me from my countless fertility appointments, already arranged to have my own copy sent directly to me. A knock at the bathroom door jolted me back to the present. "Presley?" It was Leah, Michael's niece. "Are you okay?" I opened the door to find her worried face. At 18, she was the only Whitfield who seemed to have a soul. "I'm fine, sweetie. Just needed a minute." "What they're doing is horrible," she whispered. "Mom says I shouldn't take sides, but this is wrong." I squeezed her hand. "Thank you, Leah. But don't worry, I'm not as helpless as they think." My phone buzzed. Flynn had arrived. Walking back to the dining room, I heard Lana's voice carrying through the halls. "Destiny here graduated summa cum laude from Vassar, and she's already on the board of 3 charities." I paused in the doorway, watching my replacement candidate beam under Lana's praise. Michael was actually nodding along, like this was all perfectly normal. "The results came back 6 months ago," I announced, making everyone jump. "Remember that day, Michael? The urologist had some interesting things to say." The colour drained from his face. "Presley, don't what? Don't tell them how you've known for years that you can't have children? Or don't tell them why?" Herbert slammed his hand on the table. "What nonsense is this? Michael!" Lana's voice sharpened. "What is she talking about?" But Michael was already on his feet, grabbing my arm and pulling me toward the hallway. "We need to talk. Privately." "No!" I yanked my arm free. "I'm done with private. I'm done with secrets." "Please," he whispered, desperation creeping into his voice. "We can work this out. Like we worked it out when I cried myself to sleep, when your mother suggested I wasn't woman enough, when you watched me inject hormones and blame myself for years." A movement caught my eye. Flynn standing in the foyer, manila envelope in hand. He gave me a subtle nod. "The truth is coming out tonight," I told Michael. "Either you tell them, or I will." "Tell us what?" Oakley demanded, standing now too. Michael's face hardened. "You're hysterical. Nobody will believe you." I laughed, the sound echoing off crystal and fine china. "That's where you're wrong. See, I have proof. And unlike you, I didn't lose it." "Proof of what?" Lana's voice had lost its smugness, replaced by something closer to fear. I turned to face the room full of guests, all pretense of polite dinner conversation abandoned. Flynn stepped closer, envelope extended like a weapon. "Proof that your perfect son had a vasectomy at 25, I said clearly, years before he met me, years before he watched me break myself trying to give him children he knew we could never have. The silence that followed was absolute. And in that silence, I finally heard something beautiful. The sound of their carefully constructed lies beginning to crumble. The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before Lana's wine glass shattered against the floor. Red liquid spread across imported tiles like blood, but nobody moved to clean it up. "You're lying," she hissed, but her perfect mask had cracked. "Michael would never." "Oh, but he did," I cut in, taking the envelope from Flynn. "Shall we discuss the details? The date? The doctor's name? How about the follow-up visits confirming it was successful?" Destiny cleared her throat. "I think perhaps I should go—" "No, please stay," I smiled at her. "You were invited here to replace me after all. Don't you want to know what you're really signing up for?" "Michael," Herbert's voice boomed. "Explain yourself." But Michael just stood there, frozen, looking like a child caught in an elaborate lie. Which, in a way, he was. "I can explain," I offered. "See, your son never wanted children, but he also never wanted to disappoint you, so he made sure he couldn't have them, then married me, and let me take the blame. Brilliant, really, until it wasn't." Oakley jumped in, ever the loyal sister. "This is ridiculous. Why would he hide something like that for 10 years? "Ask him," I challenged. "Ask him why he watched me go through fertility treatments knowing they could never work. Ask him why he held me while I cried about being broken, knowing he was the reason we'd never have children. Is it true?" Leah's quiet voice cut through the chaos. She was looking at her uncle with something like horror. "Did you really do that to her?" Michael finally spoke, his voice tight. "You don't understand. Any of you. The pressure, the expectations. The pressure? I laughed. Try having your mother-in-law send you articles about fertility diets. Try having your sister-in-law suggest surrogates at Christmas dinner. Try being called barren behind your back at every family function. I never meant, Michael started. To get caught? Flynn finished for him, speaking for the first time. Because that's the only thing you're sorry about, isn't it? Lana had recovered enough to attempt damage control. This is a private family matter. Perhaps our guests should leave. But they're here to witness my humiliation, aren't they? I turned to the stunned faces around the table. Tell me, what exactly were you told about tonight? A woman in her 30s, Layla, I'd heard someone call her, just spoke up. We were told there was a mutual separation in progress, that both parties had agreed. Both parties, I repeated. Interesting. And Destiny. What were you promised? Destiny squirmed in her seat. Mrs. Whitfield said you'd accepted your limitations, that you wanted Michael to have a chance at fatherhood. How generous of me, I said, pulling out the medical documents, especially considering I've spent 10 years being tortured for something that was never my fault. Enough! Michael shouted, lunging for the papers. But Flynn stepped between us, his solid presence a wall Michael didn't dare challenge. No, I said calmly, not nearly enough. For 10 years, I was the family disappointment, the failed wife, the barren woman. Now it's your turn to wear that shame. Herbert stood up, his face purple. You're destroying this family. Your son did that, Flynn replied. Presley's just exposing the rot. I watched as the carefully crafted narrative crumbled around them. The potential replacement wives were gathering their things, shooting disgusted looks at Michael. Guests were whispering, phones were out, and the great Whitfield reputation was unravelling thread by thread. You don't deserve this, Leah whispered suddenly beside me. You never did. Thank you, sweetheart, I squeezed her hand. Sometimes the truth hurts, but lies hurt more. Michael! Lana's voice was desperate now. Tell me you can reverse it. Tell me we can fix this. But Michael just stood there, trapped in the web of his own lies, as I prepared to deliver the final blow. I pulled out the medical report, its official letterhead gleaming under crystal chandelier light. Shall I read it aloud? I asked, my voice carrying across the silent room. Or would you like to tell them yourself about the permanent nature of your decision? The look of pure panic on his face told me everything I needed to know. The truth was about to detonate, and no one in this room would ever be the same. I unfolded the letter with steady hands, the paper crisp and official. The room held its breath as I cleared my throat. Following examination and review of medical records, I read, we confirm the vasectomy performed on April 15th, 2013 remains intact and successful. Patient was advised at time of the procedure that this should be considered permanent. Stop! Michael pleaded. Please! Why? You never stopped them when they were tearing me apart. I continued reading. Patient declined preservation of genetic material, stating he had no intention of future procreation. Lana swayed in her chair. Before you even met her? You chose this before... 2 years before we met, I confirmed. 2 years before he promised me a family, before he watched me inject hormones, before he held my hand through failed fertility treatments. But why? Herbert demanded. Why would you do this without telling us? Michael's face twisted. Because I never wanted children. I never wanted any of it. The pressure, the expectations, the family legacy nonsense. Then why marry me? My voice cracked for the first time. Why let me believe for 10 years that something was wrong with me? Because you were perfect, he shouted. Beautiful, smart, from a good family. Mum and Dad approved. I thought you'd be enough of a distraction. Flynn stepped forward. A distraction? You used her as a human shield. You don't understand, Michael turned to his parents. Every dinner, every holiday. When are you giving us grandchildren? The family name must continue. I couldn't take it any more. So you let them torture me instead? I asked quietly. Oakley, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly spoke. All those times I suggested surrogates, fertility specialists. You knew, I turned to her. Every time you suggested another doctor, another treatment, you watched me hope. Did you enjoy it? I didn't know, she whispered. I swear I didn't know. Destiny stood up abruptly. I think we've all seen enough. Ladies? The other candidates followed her lead, gathering their belongings. Please, Lana started. This is just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Layla scoffed. You invited us here to replace a woman your son deliberately deceived for a decade. This isn't a misunderstanding, it's emotional abuse. I watched as the guests began to leave, their phones already out, no doubt sharing the scandal that would rock their social circles. The Whitfield reputation wouldn't survive this intact. I remember, I said into the thinning crowd, sitting right here last Christmas when you told me I was failing the family, Lana. Do you remember what Michael said? She shook her head mutely. Nothing. He said nothing. Just like he said nothing every time you blamed me, shamed me, suggested I wasn't woman enough for your son. We can fix this, Herbert insisted. There must be a way to reverse. There isn't, Michael snapped, and I wouldn't if I could. I never wanted children. Never will. The perfect Whitfield legacy ends with me. Lana crumpled into her chair, decades of carefully maintained social standing evaporating before her eyes. You know what the worst part is? I said, gathering my things. I would have understood if you'd been honest from the start. We could have parted ways, found people who wanted the same things. Instead, you let me waste 10 years believing I was broken. Flynn touched my arm. Ready to go? Almost. I turned to Leah. Stay strong, sweetheart. Don't let them mould you into something you're not. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I won't. I promise. Oakley stepped forward, perhaps to apologise, but I held up my hand. Don't! Just don't! As Flynn and I walked toward the door, Michael called out one last time. Presley, wait! We can work this out. We can... Can what? I turned back. Can keep lying? Can keep pretending? The truth is out now, Michael. Deal with it. The last thing I saw as we left was Lana's perfectly made-up face crumbling, Herbert's reddening complexion suggesting an impending explosion, and Michael standing alone in the wreckage of his lies. In the car, Flynn glanced at me. You okay? I looked back at the house where I'd spent 10 years trying to be enough. No, I said honestly, but I will be. We hadn't made it halfway down the driveway when Michael came running out after us, his perfectly pressed suit now wrinkled, his face desperate. Stop the car, I told Flynn. Let's finish this. Michael reached my window out of breath. Please, we need to talk about this rationally. Rationally? I stepped out of the car. Like how you rationally watched me blame myself for years? I'll tell them whatever you want, he pleaded. I'll say I just found out, that I didn't know. More lies, I laughed. That's your solution? Behind him, Lana and Herbert appeared in the doorway, with Oakley hovering anxiously between them. Several guests lingered on the front steps, phones still recording. Everyone's watching, Michael hissed. Think about what you're doing to my reputation. Something snapped inside me. I walked back toward the house, my heels crunching on gravel. Your reputation? I projected my voice so everyone could hear. Let's talk about reputation, Michael. Let's talk about how you married me under false pretenses. How you watched me endure hormone treatments that made me sick. How you held me through miscarriages that were never possible in the first place. Lower your voice! He grabbed my arm, but Flynn was there instantly, removing his hand. Touch her again, Flynn warned, and we'll add assault to the evening's entertainment. Lana rushed down the steps. Please, let's handle this privately, like a family. Family? I turned to the remaining guests. Would a family invite strangers to humiliate their daughter-in-law? Would they spend years watching her suffer needlessly? We didn't know, Herbert protested. But he did, I pointed at Michael. He knew every time you blamed me, every time you suggested fertility treatments, every time you called me defective. I never used that word, Lana said weakly. No. What about barren? Inadequate? Disappointment? Should I go on? Michael tried one last time. Whatever you want. Money, the house, anything. Just stop this. I pulled off my wedding ring. You still don't get it. This isn't about money. This is about 10 years of psychological torture. This is about watching you sit silently while your family destroyed me piece by piece. I loved you, he said desperately. No, I replied. You loved what I represented. The perfect wife shield, protecting you from your parents' expectations. Well, the shield is broken now. Oakley stepped forward. Presley, please. Think about what this will do to all of us. Like you thought about what you were doing to me. I turned to the gathered crowd. Did you know they suggested surrogates, adoption, fertility treatments in other countries? All while he sat there knowing it was impossible. Phones kept recording. Some guests were already typing, no doubt sharing the scandal in real time. Our family name, Herbert began, will survive, I cut him off. But not untarnished, not unchanged. Sometimes legacies need to burn so something better can grow from the ashes. I dropped my wedding ring onto the driveway. The small diamond caught the evening light before disappearing into the gravel. Presley, Michael's voice cracked. Don't do this. You did this, I said quietly. Every lie, every silent moment, every time you watched me cry and said nothing, you did this. Leah appeared in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Aunt Presley. Don't be, sweetheart. Just learn from it. Never let anyone silence your truth. I turned back to the Whitfields one last time. The fertility treatments made me sick for months. The hormones gave me migraines. The disappointment nearly broke me. But you know what? I'm grateful. Grateful? Lana spat. Yes, because now I know exactly who you are, all of you, and I'm free. I walked back to Flynn's car, my steps lighter with each moment. Behind me, I heard the murmur of voices, the click of phone cameras, the sound of a carefully curated reputation crumbling. Ready? Flynn asked as I buckled my seatbelt. I looked back at the house where I'd wasted 10 years of my life. Michael stood frozen on the driveway. Lana was crying into Herbert's shoulder, and Oakley was frantically typing on her phone, probably trying to get ahead of the story. Yes, I said. I'm ready. As we drove away, I finally felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. The fallout began before we even reached my apartment. My phone buzzed constantly with notifications, messages, calls, social media alerts. By midnight, the story had spread through our entire social circle. You should see what Destiny posted, Flynn said, scrolling through his phone. We sat on my couch, sharing a bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. This felt special enough. Read it. Witnessed the most horrific display of family manipulation tonight. To the woman who stood up to them all, you're my hero. Sagshine's toxic in-laws. Gaslighting. Is abuse. I took another sip of wine. How many shares? Over 1,000 already, and Layla's video is going viral. My phone rang. Michael's number. Again. I declined it for the 20th time. He's persistent, Flynn noted. He's panicking. The Whitfield family reputation means everything to them. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from Oakley. Do you have any idea what you've done? Dad's biggest client just pulled out. Mum's had to step down from 3 charity boards. Please, we can fix this. I showed Flynn the message. Should I respond? Depends. What would you say? Before I could answer, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Michael, dishevelled and desperate. Go away, I called through the door. Please. His voice was ragged. Everything's falling apart. Just help me fix this. Flynn moved to stand beside me. Should I call the police? No, I said, loudly enough for Michael to hear. He's leaving. Aren't you, Michael? They're destroying us online, he said. The video? Everyone's sharing it. Clients are calling. Mum's friends are. Please, just tell everyone it was a misunderstanding. I opened the door but kept the chain on. A misunderstanding? Like how you misunderstood my need to know the truth about my own marriage. I was scared, he shouted. Is that what you want to hear? I was terrified of disappointing them, of being cut off, of losing everything. So you let me lose everything instead. My self-worth, my health, my time. We can start over, he pleaded. I'll tell them the truth. I'll make it right. You had 10 years to make it right, Flynn interjected. You chose lies instead. My phone buzzed again. A message from Leah. Uncle Michael's at your place. Mum sent him to fix things. Don't trust him. I showed Michael the message through the crack in the door. Even your niece knows you're still lying. His face changed, hardened. You've ruined everything. My family, my business, my life. No, I cut him off. You ruined it. Every silent dinner, every fake consolation, every time you watched them tear me apart, you chose this ending. I'll tell everyone you're lying, he threatened, that you're unstable, vindictive. Flynn pulled out his phone. Still recording, buddy. Want to dig that hole deeper? Michael's shoulders slumped. What do you want? Money? The house? I want the last 10 years back, I said quietly. I want every tear I cried over not being able to give you children. I want every moment I felt worthless because your mother called me defective. Can you give me those? He stared at the floor. That's what I thought, I continued. Now leave, or the next viral video will be you harassing me at my home. This isn't over, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Yes, it is. It was over the moment you decided your comfort was worth more than my pain. As he turned to leave, another text came through from Destiny. Your story is inspiring women to share their own experiences with gaslighting and toxic in-laws. You've started something important. I showed Flynn the message after closing the door. Maybe some good can come from this mess. Already has, he said. You're free. My phone lit up again. Lana this time. You've destroyed this family. I typed back 3 words. No, you did. Then I blocked their numbers, one by one. Michael, Lana, Herbert, Oakley. Only Leah remained unblocked, a small light in the darkness of her family's legacy. What now? Flynn asked. I looked around my apartment at the life I'd put on hold for a decade of lies. Now? I start living again? On my terms. Outside I heard Michael's car start up and drive away. The sound faded into the night, taking 10 years of silence with it. 1 week later, I sat in my lawyer's office, watching her read through the medical documents and social media fallout. They're trying to spin it, she said, scrolling through her tablet. Claiming you misunderstood, that Michael was planning to reverse the procedure. Can they sue me? I asked. For damaging their reputation? She smiled. Truth is an absolute defence. Besides, they don't want this in court. It would only make things more public. My phone buzzed, another message from Leah. Mum's freaking out. Their country club just revoked their membership. Grandma's been uninvited from 3 charity galas. Karma works fast, Flynn commented, reading over my shoulder. The lawyer, Sarah, set down her tablet. They're offering a settlement, very generous one actually, in exchange for your silence and a public statement saying it was all a misunderstanding. I laughed. They still don't get it. This was never about money. No, Sarah agreed, but take it anyway. You earned it with 10 years of psychological abuse. A knock at her office door interrupted us. Sarah's assistant poked her head in. Sorry, but you need to see this. Michael's just made a public statement. Sarah pulled up a video on her computer. Michael sat at his desk, looking polished but strained. Recent events have brought to light personal matters that I deeply regret, he began. While my choices were my own, I want to clarify that my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, I corrected, was an innocent party. The failure to have children was entirely my responsibility, and I apologise for allowing others to believe otherwise. Flynn snorted. Translation, damage control. Furthermore, Michael continued, I ask that the media respect our privacy during this difficult time. Any statements from my family should be disregarded as they were unaware of my medical decisions. Sarah paused the video. He's throwing his parents under the bus. Smart move, actually. Saves what he can of his reputation while distancing himself from their behaviour. Lana must be livid, I mused. Right on cue, my phone lit up with a blocked number. I answered on speaker. How dare you turn my son against me? Lana's voice filled the room. I didn't, I replied calmly. Your actions did that all on their own. We're ruined! Herbert's business is failing. My social standing is destroyed, and it's all your fault. Sarah leaned forward. Mrs. Whitfield, this is Sarah Martinez, Presley's attorney. I advise you to cease contact unless you'd like to add harassment to your family's growing list of problems. The line went dead. That felt good, Flynn grinned. Another message from Leah popped up. Uncle Michael moved out. Grandma and Grandpa are fighting non-stop. Dad says their company might not survive the scandal. I typed back. Are you okay? Better than okay. You showed me what strength looks like. Thank you. Sarah gathered her papers. The divorce papers will be ready tomorrow. Given the circumstances and public exposure, he's unlikely to contest anything. And the settlement? Take it, she advised. Not because they deserve your silence, but because you deserve compensation for what they put you through. I nodded. Okay, but I have one condition. Name it. I want them to fund a foundation for women dealing with fertility issues and family pressure. Anonymous donations, of course. Flynn squeezed my hand. Making something good out of their mess. Perfect. As we left the lawyer's office, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from Destiny. You inspired me to leave my toxic family situation. Thank you for showing me that sometimes the bravest thing is walking away. Outside, the autumn air felt crisp and clean. Flynn offered to drive me home, but I decided to walk. You sure? He asked. I'm sure. I need to feel this. Being free, making my own choices. As I walked, I passed a playground where children were laughing and playing. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't feel that familiar ache. Instead, I felt possibility. The weight of expectations finally lifted from my shoulders. My phone buzzed again. Michael, please. One last chance to talk. I deleted the message without responding. Some chapters need to stay closed. The sun was setting as I reached my apartment, painting the sky in shades of possibility. Tomorrow I would sign the divorce papers. Tomorrow I would start writing my own story. But Tonight I would celebrate the sound of silence, not the suffocating silence of secrets, but the peaceful silence of truth. The divorce papers felt lighter than I expected as I signed my name for the last time. Sarah, Flynn and Leah watched in supportive silence. That's it? I asked. Sarah nodded. That's it. Given the circumstances, Michael agreed to all terms, including the foundation funding. He didn't have much choice, Flynn added. Not with public opinion the way it is. Leah hugged me tight. I can't believe you're not going to be my aunt anymore. Hey! I pulled back to look at her. Family isn't just about blood or papers. I'm here if you need me always. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Herbert's company had filed for bankruptcy. 3 board members had resigned, citing ethical concerns about leadership. Karma really doesn't mess around, Flynn whistled. Have you seen Oakley's public apology? Leah asked, pulling up a social media post. She actually admitted to knowing something was wrong, but staying silent. Mum's furious, but I'm proud of her. Sarah gathered the papers. The foundation paperwork is next. Any thoughts on a name? Truth breaks silence, I said. For women trapped in families that value reputation over reality. The office door burst open. Lana stood there, designer outfit, slightly dishevelled, eyes wild. You've gotten what you wanted, she spat. Are you happy now? Our family is destroyed. Mrs. Whitfield, Sarah started, but I held up my hand. No, let her speak. I want to hear this. Everything we built, everything we worked for, gone. Because you couldn't keep quiet, couldn't handle things privately like a proper family. I stood slowly. Proper family? Like how you properly humiliated me at every opportunity. How you properly invited women to replace me at a dinner party. We were trying to help Michael. No, I said firmly. You were trying to protect your image, just like now. You're not here because you're sorry, you're here because you lost control of the narrative. Leah stepped forward. Grandma, stop. Haven't you done enough? Lana deflated slightly, seeing her granddaughter stand against her. Leah, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, Leah cut in. You cared more about appearances than people, and now everyone sees who you really are. Security arrived, summoned by Sarah's silent alarm. As they escorted Lana out, she turned back one last time. We gave you everything. No, I replied. You took everything, and now Karma's returning the favour. After she left, Flynn checked his phone. The video of her bursting in here is already trending. Toxic in-laws never learn. I laughed, surprising myself. Let's get out of here. I'm done letting the Whitfields take up space in my life. Outside, the city hummed with life. My phone buzzed with a message from Destiny. The support group you suggested is amazing. Thank you for showing us we're not alone. The Foundation's first meeting is next week, I told Leah. Want to help? Her eyes lit up. Really? Mum would hate that. All the more reason, Flynn winked. Another message popped up from Michael. I understand now. What we did to you, I'm sorry. I showed the others. Too little, too late. Way too late, they agreed in unison. I deleted the message and blocked his new number. Some apologies aren't worth the oxygen they consume. Ready for dinner? Flynn asked. That new place downtown opened up. The one Lana's social club boycotted. Leah grinned. Perfect. As we walked, I caught my reflection in a store window. I looked different, stronger, lighter, free. No more silent dinners, no more fake smiles, no more swallowing truth to protect lies. You know what the best revenge is? I said as we reached the restaurant. What's that? Flynn asked. Living well and helping others escape what you survived. Leah hugged me again. You did more than escape. You changed things. Made it harder for families like mine to hide their toxic truth. My phone lit up one last time. A message from the Foundation's first registered member. Thank you for giving us a voice. I smiled, putting my phone away. The Whitfields had tried to bury me in silence, but they forgot one crucial thing. Sometimes silence, when broken, becomes a revolution. Let's eat, I said. I'm starving. And for the first time in 10 years, I felt truly, completely full.